More than any other region in the world, Africa is looking at Mr. Obama's presidency with much anticipation and hope. Africa Action is a non-profit organization based in Washington, working to change U.S.-Africa relations to promote political, economic, and social justice in nations of Africa. Recently, I spoke with Gerard Lemel, Africa Action's executive director, and asked him what President Obama's priorities should be in Africa.
It starts with changing the tone. Once he changes the tone, he can begin to build the trust of African people. The next most important thing he can do is in attacking the global war on terror, changing the way we are approaching the war on terror and turning it to what it should be, and that is a war on poverty, a sincere war on poverty. When you have poverty levels the way it is, the opportunity and the reservoir of disaffected people who could be rallied for conflict is enormous. This has to change. This isn't going to change at the barrel of a gun. It's going to change when we start to invest in building infrastructure. It's going to change when we start investing in a trade policy that makes sense.
So can we put Mr. Obama, the President of the United States, on the spot that whatever policies that are going to be weaved in relation to the continent of Africa in attacking poverty and enabling the continent to develop will be very much determined by him, other than perhaps other forces that we may not be aware of?
He's not going to determine how African countries are going to govern themselves. But he can determine how the United States relates to Africa. That's well within his purview.
And President Bush has been given credit for having done so much, particularly in the area of health, PEPFAR. He probably helped to set aside amounts of monies that have never ever been really set aside for purposes of enabling African nations fight with HIV, AIDS, and malaria and others. So to some degree, can we say that whatever happens, let's say 4 years down the line, we will look at President Obama and ask him, do you feel you've done perhaps better than your predecessor?
I think that while certainly the amount of money that's been put into PEPFAR has been tremendous, I think there were a lot of people who were pushing for this, along with President Bush later on, and a lot of people deserve credit for this. The fact of the matter is we have a number of conflicts on the continent of Africa that the United States did not help to solve. They, in fact, in Somalia, one could argue that the United States actually exacerbated the conflict. The fact that we did not support the United Nations in the Congo, we did not support the United Nations in Sudan, that we have sought to develop unilateral solutions to various conflicts, which ended up dragging us into those conflicts because they were ill-conceived from the get-go, has meant that there's been a lot of failure with regard to U.S. policy in Africa. If Barack Obama is able to implement policies that look more at diplomacy and economy and fairness and justice as opposed to military solutions and might and force, then we may look back and say, you know, he did a lot better than George Bush.